Hello everybody, Anshart Gaming here, and today I'm going to be starting a new series where we talk about the game Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 is an absolutely monumental video game and shaped the course of gaming forever really. This game is now 16 years old and will be 17 this year, and honestly I can't believe that. It feels like it didn't come out that long ago. Anyway, today we're going to be going over what we can learn from the game, what it does really well, what it teaches you, and also some stuff that it doesn't do too well. Although this game is near perfect, it isn't perfect. No game is, but this game comes very close to it. Anyway, in this episode we'll be looking at the first few chapters: Point Insertion, Red Letter Day, and Root Canal. So, now that we've got that all established, let's begin by talking about Chapter 1, Point Insertion. We begin on a train, and we are instantly thrown into a brand new world, with new people, new faces, and what appears to be an abusive police force. However, the game wastes no time with its world building, as there's constantly stuff going on all around, and one of the best features in which this chapter shows us is that you can interact with almost every NPC to get some dialogue.
Our benefactor.
Overwatch stopped our train in the woods and took my husband for questioning. They said he'd be on the next train.
Whether you are here,
Because you're able to talk to every NPC, you get a sense that something is definitely wrong. An overbearing police force, a mysterious voice, and all of a sudden you're being told to follow a man. This is more terrifying by the fact that if you look to the left, there's a man in a room. It's bleak, it's locked, and the guard shuts the door right before you can get any information out. The other guard opens your door, and you know that something's going to be wrong.
I'm gonna need me some privacy for this.
About that beer I owed you. It's me, Gordon, Barney from Black Mesa.
After some story exposition, we learn that we need to go meet up with Dr. Klein in his lab. However, Barney's cover is broken, so we need to make our own way there. He tells us to sack some boxes, and what do we see? Boxes, a window, and a prompt to press X. We know that we have to build our way out, so we do. And this teaches us that there's going to be a lot of physics puzzles in this game, and that we need to use our reasoning to figure out how to complete them. We just enter a loading screen. These are basically individual sections of the chapters. However, we can't get comfortable because a guard instantly tells us to put the can in the bin. Now, you can abide and just simply put the can in the bin. No problem. However, if you decide to, you can pick the can up and then throw it at the guard. This teaches the player that you can use physics objects as weapons. Progressing on through the chapter, we go outside. We see a giant building, a man on a board, and a very bleak, desolate city. You'd expect a city to be full of hustle and bustle. However, maybe that is because there is currently a raid going on in a building. And this appears that, something is definitely wrong, because in the distance we see a creature. We don't know what it is, but it's there. We then overhear two NPCs talking about the raid, and mentioning they might be next. We then enter an apartment building that is also being raided. We meet a guy upstairs who agrees to hold the door shut for us while we escape. However, he won't be able to hold forever, so we begin to make the most of this and run. Get outside and start getting shot at. We then can see that there appears to be ships in the sky. Are they coming for us? Where are they going? What are they? Anyway, we don't have time for that. We're being shot at. So we start running. We see a car in the street down below and another cop. So we need to keep on going, because we need to reach the lab in time, and we also need to escape these police. Eventually make it inside and we go down some stairs. We appear to be safe. However, this is simply an ambush by the police. They begin to beat us, and when all hope appears lost, Alex
Dr.
meets up with
Freeman,
us.
I presume.
She was mentioned earlier in the story, and she will guide us to the
I
lab.
better hurry.
This is the end of Chapter 1, Point Insertion. Now, on to Chapter 2, Red Letter Day. Now, Red Letter Day does not really have much in the way of gameplay. However, there's a couple of key things in this chapter that I would like to discuss. However, do bear in mind that this might be a pretty boring part. Now, one major thing to notice is the symbol behind Alex. That is the symbol of a lambda. Now, you'll see these throughout the game, and they're very important as they'll give you supplies. Now, we're approaching the most important part, the HEV suit. This is a major part of the game. Of course, it's what we wear, and it allows us to access some cool features. First of all is being able to sprint. The second is being able to use a flashlight, and we'll also be able to hold our breath underwater for a lot longer than you normally would. Now, another key thing the suit allows us to do is charge it up with suit. This is basically the armor of the game, and it's very important because it will negate damage that you take. Now we move on to more plot progression, the teleporter. We help by flicking the switch and Alex gets teleported to Black Mesa East. Now, it's our turn, however it is not going well. We're being teleported all around the place. We get teleported to the lab, and then this random guy's office, and then underwater, which is very strange. However, we eventually end up behind Dr. Kleiner in his lab. Now, we learn that we need to leave City 17, thanks to Barney, and that giant building is known as the Citadel. Now, we will not be able to teleport to Black Mesa East, so we're going to have to make it there on foot. Barney assures us that there will be people on the way that will help us out.
Oh, and before I forget, I think you dropped this back in Black Mesa. Good luck out there, buddy.
Now, Barney gives us the crowbar. This is essential because it allows us to break physics objects, and is the trademark weapon of Gordon Freeman. Now, as we're running, we're able to see the station which we arrived on, which is a good way to build the world, makes it feel connected and whole. And as we break the planks, we enter the end of Chapter 2, Red Letter Day. Now we begin Chapter 3, Route Kanal. This is the first major gameplay section of Half-Life 2, and it begins very quickly with two officers beating up some civilians. So we kill them and take their gun.
I'll be looking for you now. You'd better run. There's nothing else you can do here.
After being told that we need to leave, we go up some stairs. We then realise that we need to get across, but we don't know how. However, we can hear a train coming, and this teaches the player that certain events will occur in the environment which will allow them to progress. And as we break these planks, we realise that two Combine officers spawn behind us. Now, we run past these barrels earlier. However, we didn't want to shoot them because there were no enemies. However, now as enemies, we can shoot them and kill the enemies. And we also see them next to a door. We shoot the barrels and it blows open a path for the door. Once we go through the door, there's a supply crate and more barrels next to more enemies. So, our natural instinct is to shoot them again. It teaches the player that barrels can be used for both environmental destruction and destruction against enemies. We go an event, and as we come out, two enemies decide to try and ambush us. However, there are no barrels this time, so we simply just have to shoot them. As we round the corner, we notice some more barrels and a Combine officer. We try to shoot them and he takes cover and we get ambushed by a barrel rolling down the stairs. However, if the player is fast enough, they can shoot the barrel and blow up the officer pushing it. This teaches the player that barrels will be used against you, and that if you're fast enough, you can normally change the tide of a battle. We keep going and find some supplies, as well as a train and some helicopters coming straight for us, so we jump into the water for safety. After a quick swim, we meet up with a civilian and a Vortigon. On the back, we can see a map which shows us where we need to go, and the civilian also tells us we need to keep going. There are more like him up ahead, and if we're not quick, then they'll be ambushed, and they have supplies that can help us reach Black Mesa East. After being let out by the friendly civilian, we're introduced to a new enemy, the Barnacle. The Barnacle is shown to us in a safe environment. He eats a bird and shows us how to counter it and what it can do. However, we don't have long to reflect on this, as the station we are trying to reach has been overrun by Combine. So, we make our way inside, killing the two officers, and gaining some supplies along the way. As we go up the ladder, we notice a very conveniently placed barrel, again showing that barrels can be used to our advantage. And we also encounter another new mechanic, a turret. The turret allows us to clear a path forward, as well as practice our aim on some targets. However, we don't want to stick around for long, because more Combine are on their way, so we get to running. We notice them coming, however we keep going. We're almost cut off by another officer, however we're able to take them out quickly. We then encounter some more barnacles, however we can simply dodge the first one. The other one is hidden in darkness, showing that they will try to be used to catch us out. However, the final one cannot be dodged and we have to kill it. A little while later, we end up in a tunnel system. We break open the supply crates to get some more ammo, however the room begins to fog up quickly. We look up to the sky and see a hole, where barrels begin to pour into the room. This teaches the player that barrels will still be used against them, as they have not for a while, but water can be used to negate damage taken from them if you're low enough down. We then enter a major combat section, with lots of enemies, high, low, and lots of barrels as well. Again, this reinforces the player's knowledge about barrels and how to use them against enemies, while also allowing them to test their combat skills in some new ways, as elevation is a key factor in this fight, as troops will be pouring in left and right. After that fight, we push through some barrels. As the player goes through, they knock one of the barrels down into the barnacle's tongue. This teaches the player that barnacles can pick up barrels, and right next to them are a lot of barnacles and some explosive barrels. So the player can pick up a barrel, shoot it, and blow up all of the barnacles. After a bit of swimming, we end up at a seesaw puzzle. This is another physics puzzle, however, it is quite simple as there's lots of cinder blocks around, and you can also tell what you need to do, as if you stand on one end, the other end will rise, meaning that you need to use it as a ramp to build up. After a simple physics puzzle inside, we get outside again, and we begin to be chased by a helicopter, so we need to run down the ramp and keep going. It's clear to see where you have to go by the wooden planks, however one is in your way, so you will need to destroy it. And that's not the only obstacle in your way. Not only are you being chased, but there is a barnacle that must be killed, otherwise you can't progress. And there are some barrels blocking a door. The helicopter's fire will try and slow you down here, however if you're quick enough you can get inside to safety. Once we get inside, there are more barnacles and more explosive barrels, so we continue to do what we did earlier. However, there are some afterwards, but luckily for us, the shrapnel from the barrel will go down and block them barnacles as well. We keep going through the tunnels until we meet up with a friendly civilian, who tells us about manhacks, and on cue, they burst through the door. Manhacks are a new enemy type who are flying and rush towards you to try to cut you up. We meet them in a safe environment as they attack the NPC, however, we progress onwards and we find a gate that they're behind. We are now truly safe from manhacks. We turn the corner and find explosive barrels to kill the manhacks with as well, teaching us, again, barrels can be used against enemies, and that manhacks are very easy to kill. We continue onwards and we see a red light next to a vent. This instantly draws our attention as it's the only thing with colour in the room. So we check it out, and as we go through, another manhack comes out. But this might be the first time you encounter them with a crowbar, and you learn that they're very easy to kill while getting some rewards. We jump down and we see a barrel, and right next to the barrel a cop comes down, so we shoot the barrel to kill them. We run ahead and we get the SMG, and as we have the SMG, 2 more cops come down, so we instantly can start shooting. Now, if you turn around after picking it up, you can see a little vent, and in here you'll find a zombie. You won't encounter these enemies for a while, however, you also get a grenade. And also, because you have to move an explosive barrel out of the way to get into the vent, when you come back out, another cop will come down, but you will move the explosive barrel in a position which makes them easy to kill. Later on, we find some pipes, and we see more barnacle tongues, and what do we find next to a barnacle? Another barrel. This further reinforces the player's knowledge about barnacles and barrels. Continue down the tunnel and see a manhack behind a fence. We look to the right after killing it, and we see the lambda symbol, as well as some wood to break. We break the wood and go to see where the manhack was, and like the other lambda, we get a grenade launcher for our SMG early. However, we instantly get ambushed by the Combine again, and they decide to throw more barrels our way. But if you think back to earlier, if you're quick enough, you can stop this and turn it into your favour. There are a few more cops, however, you don't really need to worry about them, as the majority behind you have already been killed. We jump down into another room, and we notice a lot of manhacks and a lot of barrels, so we instantly shoot them. It kills most of the manhacks, however, you need to be careful, because the barrels can easily hurt you in this section. However, it's more fun to destroy the barrels and destroy the manhacks. After a quick bit of puzzle solving, we are now able to raise the water level. We can also now enter a pipe that we were unable to before, and as we enter the new room, we encounter a new physics puzzle. We need to get across the water. However, we have no way of doing this, but there appears to be some objects trapped below some wooden planks, so by destroying the planks, the objects will rise to the top and create a sort of bridge to allow us to cross. After a little bit more continuation, we're able to block another barnacle's tongue with a barrel to get some supplies. Here we learn more about how to counter barnacles and that they will probably be guarding supplies. Turning around, we find a ladder and some sketchy looking bridge. We cross it and we realise that we can jump down. However, the player probably doesn't want to. If you keep going, you'll find a lambda stash. However, if you jump down before, you will not be able to access his lambda. Progressing further onwards, we have to use the bridge to get over some toxic radiation, as well as encountering another new enemy type, the head crab. The head crabs get sent down in these little canisters, and they'll jump out and try to get you. However, they are pretty easy to kill. However, they can be very annoying, and in packs can actually be quite dangerous. We also learn that they can hide underground. The player continues on and encounters another zombie that the head crab has taken over. They throw a barrel at us. However, we are behind a fence and safe. Again, teaching the player a new mechanic in a safe environment. This mechanic being that zombies will use physics objects to try harm the player. We then hear and see a lot of electrical sparks, knowing that we need to keep low to dodge them, as if we don't, we'll take a lot of damage. Another headcrab shell comes down, however the headcrabs appear to not be working correctly. We progress onwards and a zombie jumps out of the hazardous waste below us. This teaches the player that zombies and headcrabs can survive in hazardous waste. We have now reached the end of the third chapter, Root Canal. The next chapter that we'll be looking at in the next episode is Water Hazard. We get a boat and are told about a red barn that is further down the tracks, that most likely has some supplies for us. With that, we have come to the end of episode 1. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you could, please leave a like and subscribe, as it helps the channel and motivates me to make more content. The next episode about Water Hazard will be out, hopefully, by next weekend.